Friends, we're going through some really tough times right now. And I have been asked many times, more than once, do you think these are the last days? It feels like the world is coming to an end. You know, last week somebody asked me, how do you stay so positive when there's so much negative news in the world? And I responded, because I know the end of the story. I know the end of the story. I've read the last book of the Bible, and I know how it's all going to end. And we win. We win in the end. Through the book of James, I need to point out that 4 times in this book, 4 different times, James reminds us that Jesus is going to come back to earth one day. He says it 4 different times. Jesus is going to come back to earth one day. We don't know when that's going to happen. Nobody does. And if anybody claims to know the time when Jesus is coming back, you can know they are dead wrong. But you know what? I've discovered that even most Christians don't realize that there's more information in the Bible about Jesus' second coming to earth than there is in the Bible about Jesus' first coming to earth. Yeah, more information about that. James 5:7, be patient then, brothers, until the Lord's coming. That's it. That's a mention of the Lord's coming. James 5:8, do not give up hope, because the Lord is coming soon. Don't give up hope. Be steadfast. James chapter 2, verse 12. Speak and act as those who are going to be judged. The first time Jesus came, he came to save the world. Second time, he's coming to judge the world and to reward those who have followed him. You will be hated and hurt because you're committed to me in the last days. But those who keep faithfully loving to the end will be saved. Jesus is coming back. What kind of people should we be? And he says we should live holy and godly lives. We should look forward to the coming day of God. Are we living in the last days? Well, nobody knows. But we do know this. We're living in the later days. In other words, it's later than it's ever been before. 2,000 years have happened since that's been written. We're living in the later days, and it's later than ever been before, and we are closer to his return than it has ever been at any other time in history. 3 times in Matthew 24, he says this, be ready, be ready, be ready. So we don't know when he's going to come, but the Bible says, be ready. Are you ready? You say, well, I don't know if I'm ready or not. Well, how do you get ready? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because that's what James tells us how to do. How should I live in light of the fact that Jesus Christ is coming back one day? How should I prepare for his coming? How should it affect how I live now, whether he comes back tomorrow or in a year or in 100 years or whenever? How should I live to prepare for his coming? James gives us, in the book of James, 6 practical instructions. These instructions given by James are repeated in other parts of the Bible also as preparation steps for Jesus' return. So get out a pencil. Here are the 6 things you need to do regardless of how long it takes for Jesus to come back. All right? Here's what James says. Number 1, the first thing James tells you to do, since you know the end of the story, is this. Clean out the garbage in my life. Clean out the garbage in my life. Now, a second thing James tells you to do, since you know the end of the story, is this. Stay close to Christ. Stay close to Christ. James chapter 4, verse 5 and following, he says this, the Spirit that God gave to live in us wants us for himself alone. So, give yourselves completely to God. Draw close to God, and he will draw close to you. Now, third thing you ought to do, since you know the end of the story, is this. This is a big one. Use trouble to become spiritually strong. Yep, that's the third thing James says you do to prepare for Jesus' second coming. while you're still here, while we're still waiting, use trouble, use problems, use stress, use difficulties to become spiritually strong. James chapter 1, 3 and 4, he says this, you know that troubles test your faith and develop endurance. So let your endurance grow. For when it's fully developed, you'll be strong in character and you'll be ready for anything. That's what you should be doing. That's what I should be doing in the time between now and when Christ comes back. Number 4, a fourth thing James tells us to do, since we know the end of the story, is this: practice loving everyone. Practice loving everyone. Now, we looked at this verse earlier, but James comes back to it. James chapter 2, verse 8, he says, you'll always be doing the right thing if you obey the most important law in Scriptures. And it is the law that commands us to love everybody, to love everybody else as much as we love ourselves. If you're going to do what God tells you to do before he comes back, learn to love everybody, means you can't demonize people, you can't stigmatize people, you can't stereotype people, you can't dehumanize people. All those people you disagree with, he said, you got to love them. Number 5. Now, the fifth thing James tells us to do, since we know the end of the story, is this. This is a big one. Invest in the bank of heaven. Invest in the bank of heaven. You say there's a bank in heaven? Oh yeah, there's a bank in heaven. 5 times in this short 5-chapter book, James emphasizes the generosity of God for us. I say, do your giving while you're living, then you'll be knowing where it's going. The 6th thing James tells us to do, since we know the end of the story, we know how it's going to end, is this. Use the gifts that God gave me to reach others. Use the gifts God gave me to reach others. When God thought you up, he created you with a number of different gifts, useful gifts, talents, abilities, skills. There's certain ways that you think. There's certain things that you do. You're just naturally good at. Now, God did not give you those gifts, or what we call your shape, for your benefit. It's not for your benefit. Your gifts aren't for your benefit. Your gifts are for the benefit of everybody else. And their gifts are for your benefit. I have certain gifts. They're not for my benefit. They're for yours. One of my gifts is teaching. I'm not benefiting from it right now. You are. And your gifts are to benefit me and everybody else. Be ready, be ready, be ready. Are you ready? How do you get ready? Well, first you open your life to Christ, and then you start doing these 6 things we just looked at.
As a community of believers, we understand the importance of supporting and lifting each other up through difficult times. We would like to extend an invitation to share your challenges and struggles in the comments section, not as a way to reveal your privacy, but as a way to share your testimony and potentially provide encouragement and guidance to others who may be going through the same thing. We are all here to help and support one another on this faith journey. Together, we can lift each other up and find strength in our shared experiences. We are so glad you joined us on our Prosperous Faith channel today. We hope that the video helped to deepen your understanding and strengthen your faith journey. We believe in the power of sharing our stories and lifting each other up. By subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and leaving comments, you will become a part of our community and have access to a wealth of uplifting and powerful inspirational messages, morning prayers, and biblical insights. And by turning on the notification bell, you'll never miss a chance to grow in your faith with us. Thank you for being a part of our community, and may God bless you always.